Hi, this is FlyLady Premium Mentor Emma here with day 5 of our 31 baby steps. I hope that you're enjoying everything so far and that your sink is shiny and that you're finding getting dressed to the shoes is a really positive thing in your life. Okay, I just want to recap what we've done so far, just as a little reminder. We are getting dressed to the shoes, as I said. If you're not dressed to the shoes, pause this, go and get dressed, and then come back and carry on. And hopefully we're shining our sink every night before we go to bed. Reading the FlyLady message, and there are lots of ways that you can do this. You can go to her website and read it. You can use the FlyLady Plus app if you have an Apple device. You can download that, it's completely free, and that will drop in there for you. You can get it emailed to you, you can subscribe to the emails and you can get that emailed to you. So there are plenty of ways that you can read that message, and it's always uplifting and it's always an interesting perspective. So I would really recommend just taking the time out to read that. And the final thing that we added in yesterday was looking at our post-it notes, our reminders. So hopefully you wrote down a reminder to shine your sink and to get dressed to the shoes, and you've got those stuck in the appropriate places around your house. And that really does make a difference. When I first started out, those reminders really made a big difference to me, made it easier for me to kind of keep on track with what I wanted to do. So today we're going to talk about those negative voices, not the ones from outside, the ones that we have in our head. So we all have an inner monologue. It's our inner voice, and often it can be kind of mean. Yeah, the ladies that I mentor will often tell you, would tell you that I often call it the mean lady in our head. She's the woman who or man, if you're watching this and you're a man, who will tell you that you're not good enough, and you haven't tried hard enough, and that you should have done more, and that you're a bad person. That voice, that's the one that we're talking about, and that's the one that really makes a difference when you can overcome that and really learn to love yourself for who you are, and not for who you think you should be. And there are lots of ways we do that to beat ourselves up. So we compare ourselves to others, and there's a lovely quote that I think is perfect for this. I know we don't use the P word, but in this case it is. It's don't compare your worst day with somebody else's best day. And we are all so guilty of doing that. We'll look at someone and think, oh, they've got it together, she's doing this or he's doing that. That's absolutely, I wish I could be like that. And maybe you're looking at something on Facebook or seeing a YouTube person who you think's got it all together, because I can tell you for now, I certainly don't have it all together, or something like that. Wherever you're looking, you're opening a magazine and seeing this kind of perfect home and thinking, I want to be like that. Well, that's their best day. So don't compare your bad days to their best days, because well, it's mean to yourself, and also it's unrealistic. And so it's really important not to do that, not to get caught up on what other people are doing or thinking or anything like that, because it doesn't matter. What is important is to recognize your achievements and your victories. So we all have that voice that says we could do better. Now, my mum taught me when I was growing up that if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing properly. Don't start something unless you intend to finish, and you should always give 110%, the best that you absolutely can. Well, you know what? She never meant to teach me things that were negative, but those things are quite negative messages. Actually, starting something is important. Not finishing it all in the same go, not finishing it in one real easy kind of hour-long session or 5-hour-long session. Starting. FlyLady decluttered one room in 9 months, 5 minutes a day. The important thing was that she started, and then that she was consistent. Okay, so starting, not necessarily finishing, is the goal. Starting and being consistent, and rewarding yourself for that instead of looking at what you haven't done, recognizing what you have done. if a job's worth doing properly, it's worth doing properly. That's, I mean, my mum would be so upset if she thought that these things had become negative things in my life. She would never have wanted to make me feel like I was unworthy. But that's just not true. It's housework done incorrectly still blesses the home. Anything you do is still a blessing to your family. It doesn't have to be perfect and correct and all of those things. It just has to be the best that you can do. And most importantly, when we're talking about our best, it's really important to remember that your best today is not the same as your best tomorrow, next week, last week. You might wake up this morning and feel really inspired and think, hey, you know what, I can work on that room, and could do an hour in 15-minute increments and then rest for 15 minutes. And you might wake up tomorrow and think, oh, maybe I can manage 5 minutes today. That's your best for the day. Think about that and make that an important goal that you don't over emphasize, or don't put too much pressure on yourself to do a best that isn't real. So that's not an excuse to just whine and say, well, I can't do it. It's more of a be honest with yourself. So what FlyLady suggests is that you write down some of those negative thoughts that you have and then kind of screw them up and put them in the bin. And I think that's just great, because I remember when I first started doing FlyLady, and for quite a few years afterwards, while I was kind of learning to do FlyLady, because it didn't come in 5 minutes. It took me about 5 years, I think, to really say, yeah, I'm more than fluttering, I'm flying now. I would get upset. My inner voice would tell me that I wasn't good enough, that I was a bad mother because my kids argued. I'm an only child. Who knew that siblings argue? Not me. I remember saying to my mum once, did you realise this was a thing? Because she was an only child too, and she said, I had no idea. So for us, this was a big shock that siblings will argue. Two of my children, when they were aged 2 and 3, would fight over which the better colour was, pink or blue, and this would go on for about 10 minutes. Well, I thought that made me a bad mother. I didn't realise that actually it was perfectly normal. It took a while of observing other people and realising that all kids fight, and it's how you react to it and the love that you give them that matters, rather than the fact that they're fighting, and that they will grow up with good memories. Because my kids don't really remember arguing over pink and blue, but they do remember some of the fun things that we did together. So that's what's important. So write those negative things down and come up with a positive. So, for instance, if you achieve something, celebrate that victory. And you have to practice when that voice goes off in your head like an alarm saying, I'm not good enough, I didn't do this, I should have done that. You have to turn it around and say, but I did this and I did that. And it's a bit like starting out at the gym or doing a couch to 5k or something like that. When you start out, you can't imagine it being easy. You can't imagine, or not necessarily easy, but you can't imagine being able to run with a couch to 5k. You can't imagine being able to run 5k. But with every step, with every day, you get a little bit closer, and by the end of the time, you're running 5k. Well, that's the same with what goes on in our heads. We have to practice. So when you have to be mindful of being mean to yourself, and you have to kind of catch it and practice turning it around and saying, no, actually, you know what? I did this today, or I really achieved this, or I'm happy with that. Not kind of, but I've got all of this left to do, or I didn't do that, or I could have done that better. Celebrate what you've done. And as you do that, that will get easier. And it won't be easy to start off with, but it's really hard to praise yourself. And it's kind of, it goes against almost like what we're taught. Because we shouldn't be big-headed and big ourselves up and things like that. But actually, it's important to be kind to ourselves. Flying is all about finally loving yourself. You are worthy to have a nice home. You are worthy to praise yourself for those things that you do. And when you don't, that's really undermining, and it can freeze you in your tracks. So that's it for today. That's my advice. practice being nice, write those things down and come up with a positive, and then throw those negative ones away. If you want to stick the positive things on post-it notes and put those next to the reminders for the shining the sink, things like that, that is an absolutely awesome thing to do, because every time you see them it can give you a little smile. Okay, I will be back tomorrow with day 6. You all have a fabulous day. I'm going to go back to studying because I have an assignment due in on Monday. So I will speak to you soon.